We're back with more of our discussion. Before we move on to the Democratic race, there's a lot going on there. Peggy, I wanted to ask you one question, which is, Jeb Bush gave a speech about Iraq this week. He took on Hillary Clinton, said that troubles there were partially her fault. But why does he give a speech about Iraq, given that his brother is so associated with that?
It was a mystery to me. It was at the Reagan Library. In a way, relitigating Iraq is not really where he should be, because of his brother. But it's also not where the American people are. When they're thinking about foreign policy, they're very consumed with the idea of what next? What do we do about ISIS? All those future things. Relitigating seemed a strange thing. There are a number of candidates who are stuck in a kind of a tar paper or bug paper. Jeb is stuck on the Bush thing. It's hard for him to get away from it.
It's really surprising. No, actually, I think it'd be easy, because his father is held in great esteem. Even his brother is held in better esteem. And who better to talk about the mistakes we made in Iraq and what we can learn from them than a guy named Bush? Instead, what do we have? We have somebody yesterday who said the war never should have happened. Once it did happen, you should have left the troops in. It's really double fault. Who said that truth yesterday?
Trump.
Donald Trump. When Donald Trump is speaking common sense, more so than the other candidates, we got a big problem.
Jeb Bush, to win, feels he must be the national security candidate. He's going to do some veterans events this week. They feel like he needs to be a conservative governor of Florida. That record, the super PAC's going to advertise on that. But he needs to be the president on the stage, the only potential commander-in-chief. The only way to talk about national security is to talk about what's gone on recently. And as he points out, the last two Republican presidents are his relations, so he can't avoid talking about their legacy, even if he does it somewhat uncomfortably at times.
All right, let's switch now to the Democrats, if we can. Jamelle, I want to ask you about Hillary Clinton's email issues. She turned over her server. That was unexpected. Yeah. She said she wasn't going to do that. And she seems to have kind of a three-pronged approach. One is make light of it. She made that Snapchat a joke. The other is to say this is a total partisanship, total partisan witch hunt. And the other is to get involved in some fights. She's taken on Jeb Bush. She took on Marco Rubio. What's your sense of that three-pronged strategy?
I think it will probably work to avoid any damage to her in the Democratic primary, and assuming she's the nominee in sort of a general election. I myself have a very hard time, especially when the campaigns kick in and everyone and partisans kind of remember that they're Democrats and Republicans. I have a hard time imagining that there's going to be anyone who walks into a voting booth and says, you know, I love Hillary Clinton's education plan, but those emails, so I guess I'm going to vote for Marco Rubio now. That's just not going to happen. What I do think is her fundamental problem with the emails is the extent to which they emphasize the worst parts of, I think, what people believe about her. People believe that she's too secretive, that she's evasive. People believe that she might be hiding something, or that she's not being honest. And even if there's nothing there in this email saga, I think that when it comes to getting to the momentum it would take to actually compete strongly in a general election, it holds her back. I don't think it prevents her, because I just don't think that's how campaigns work, but I think it holds her back a bit.
Ron, you've covered the Clintons since the mid-'80s. What's your take on?
Well, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but it's not the only issue. Covering politics isn't just about who's winning and losing and who's going to win or lose. There's some bigger issues involved in it. Look, I'm a swing voter, an independent voter. I've known and respected her for a long time. A year ago, if you'd asked me, hey, would you consider working for Secretary Clinton? I'd say, yeah, I'd think about it. 6 months ago, if you'd said, hey, would you vote for her? I'd say, yeah, I'm likely going to vote for her. Now I can't tell you that I trust her, because there's some big issues involved. I can't tell you that I trust her with the Freedom of Information Act and our public records. I can't tell you I trust her with Congress's right and responsibility to conduct oversight. I can't tell you I respect her with historians' right and responsibility to look back on archival document and see how our leaders lead. If this precedent that she has established is allowed to stand because she won, the public memory will be under assault forever. There will no longer be a public memory if everyone conducts themselves the way she has. And I haven't even talked about classified documents. I also wonder about, every time we have a scandal like this, how does it reflect on the kind of leader the person would be? You write a lot about this, John. What does it say about the kind of leader they'd be? Well, is this someone who we can really trust to be transparent and accountable? Is this someone whose judgment we can count on? Is this somebody whose integrity we can count on? I don't know if I can trust Hillary Clinton anymore, and it doesn't make me happy to say that.
They're dealing with this issue with spin and misdirection rather than authenticity and honesty and openness, which is what the public would like, I think, with everyone. And the FBI and the Justice Department, based on what's been reported about what they're doing, seem to be doing a security investigation that could draw in her aides, could potentially draw in her. And as long as their posture towards it is to deny and to spin, I think she's setting herself for this to be a very long-running problem.
And Jamelle, you're right. I'm not going to go in the voting booth and say I'm going to vote against her because of the emails, but I'm going to say, okay, I agree with her on climate change, for example, but is she really going to get it done? Can I trust her? I have to be able to trust somebody to have them leave my country.
Robert, do you think that this is this we've now heard about Joe Biden possibly running for president? Now, the difficulties for Hillary Clinton have coincided with the time in which Joe Biden said he was going to make up his final mind. So we have a conflation here a little bit. But is there a path for Joe Biden?
There may be a path, but when you talk to Democrats who are friendly with Biden, friendly with Al Gore, they sense that her campaign is weakening. At the same time, you still have to beat her, and she has a formidable operation, and you have to really compete with an historic candidate, someone who has deep roots in the Democratic Party. So it's fun to think and strategize on the sidelines, but once you get in, how hard are you really going to hit her? You see Governor O'Malley, he doesn't really want to go hard after Secretary Clinton. Same with Senator Sanders.
Even her aides say she's going to lose some contests, right? Even they say that. So when she loses, when she's cut, if I may go to a sports metaphor, does she bleed? Does she fight back? And who's in the ring to fight back against her? If Bernie Sanders beats her in a primary caucus, can she fight back against that? More likely than if someone like a Joe Biden or an Al Gore is there, I think.
I mean, the most important bit of information about sort of Hillary Clinton's electoral status is just the sheer number of endorsements she has from Democratic Party lawmakers. She has more endorsements as a primary candidate than any primary candidate in the Democratic Party has had since like the 70s. So I cannot imagine a scenario in which even losing a state like Iowa or New Hampshire would actually damage your chances, because that would essentially require the bulk of the Democratic Party to say, I guess we got to find someone else, and that just seems unrealistic to me.
I can't imagine a scenario in which nobody comes forward on the Democratic side to challenge Mrs. Clinton. She's in the middle of a difficult time. The difficult time over the emails isn't going to end for a while because the Department of Justice, the FBI, the courts. So this is going to go on. Her numbers are going down a little bit. She's still strong in Iowa, but she's getting hurt in New Hampshire. I don't understand a Democratic Party in which somebody doesn't look at this, say, that is a bruised candidate. I am going in there. I just don't understand it. The Republicans got too many. They got 17.
But they also don't have anybody who can step in and say, shake it all, make sense.
They got 17 people trying to shake it all up. And I don't understand the Democrats.
I think she wins the nomination after losing a state or two. I think a better chance than not she becomes president because of the structural issues politically. And I wonder why more people in the media, more people in the Democratic Party who are leaking stuff anonymously, why they don't have the spine to say, is this just about winning Hillary Clinton? Is that all this is about, is winning, or are you going to win the right way?
I mean, frankly, I think they would say it's just about winning. It is very unusual for a party to hold the White House for 3 consecutive terms.
But frankly, politics is supposed to be better than that, right?
I mean,
don't underestimate, though. I mean, look, I agree with you about the emails and the importance of it as a policy issue. Don't underestimate how good she's been for the last couple of weeks. You talked about the list of things she does. When she's gone after the Republicans, when she's aggressively engaged with the Republicans who are likely to be the nominees, she's been very strong.
And she's been doing a lot of policy speeches as well. Robert, let's not forget about Bernie Sanders here. I mean, he's up in a poll in New Hampshire. He's ahead. He's doing better in the national polls. Explain to people what his chances are for the long term here, despite the real energy he certainly has at the moment.
Well, you see him going to almost all 50 states. He's not just going to the early primary states. He's going to liberal hotbeds around the country, looking ahead to a long fight. But he really believes the grassroots network he's established in Iowa, being the neighboring state, the neighboring senator from Vermont in New Hampshire, provides him with strength. And if he can get a boost out of those first 2 contexts, even with Clinton's network and campaign, he can get a launch to a real fight, long drawn-out nomination.
You want to know why Donald Trump's doing so well? It's because we have conversations like this where all we talk about is whether or not she's going to win. And you're right, that the parties only care about winning. That's why a feckless blowhard like Donald Trump right now is at the top of the polls.
Okay, we're going to have to end it on feckless blowhard. Not what I would have guessed.
That's not my line, actually. It's
we'll be back with a look at the history made this week in Cuba.